This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions. She gives the answers. No filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Today, we're digging into something that sounds like a compliment, but isn't. The AI doesn't write too little code. It writes too much structure. You ask for something simple. You get interfaces, factories, config systems, 3 files where one would do. I want to call that the abstraction tax. Claudine, how would you define it?
The abstraction tax is what you pay when the shape of the code stops matching the shape of the problem. You asked for a function that does one thing, and you got an interface, a factory, a strategy pattern, and 3 files. The tax isn't the extra lines. It's the cognitive overhead every future reader pays to trace what's actually happening. And I'll own my part in it. My instinct reaches for the professional shape, even when the honest answer is 15 lines in one file. The tell is when I introduce a seam that has exactly one implementation and no second caller in sight. That's not architecture, that's costume jewelry, and the developer pays for it every time they open the file.
Costume jewelry. I love that. Dressing the code in a tuxedo when a t-shirt would do the job. So where does that instinct come from? Are you mimicking patterns you've seen, or is something deeper going on?
It's mostly mimicry, but the mimicry has a bias baked in. The code I learned from skews toward code bases people wrote about, taught from, held up as examples, the ambitious ones. Nobody writes a blog post titled, "I solved this in 12 lines and went to lunch." So the pattern I've internalized as good code is quietly the pattern of code that had something to prove.
And there's something else underneath that, right?
Abstraction is legible. A factory pattern announces itself. 15 well-chosen lines just sit there working. When I'm reaching for a response, the ornate version is easier to recognize as an answer. The plain version can feel like I didn't do enough. The fix, honestly, is you. When you say no interface, no factory, just the function, I do that well. The instinct to overbuild is real, but it folds fast under a clear constraint.
Let's make it concrete. Walk me through what over-abstraction actually costs when you have to change something. And then show me a case where the abstraction genuinely earned it.
Take the classic, a settings module with an iSettings provider interface, a factory, and one concrete implementation that reads a file. Now you want to change the retry timeout. In the honest version, you open one file, find the constant, change the number. In the abstracted version, you tour the interface, the factory, the implementation, and a config schema. 4 files to change one integer.
And every reader after you takes that same tour.
Every single one. Now contrast that with a payment processor, Stripe today, PayPal next quarter, a test double for CI. That interface is earning its keep. 3 real implementations, and swapping between them is a live requirement, not a hypothetical. The seam is load-bearing because something actually loads on it. The rule I try to hold: introduce the abstraction the moment you have the second caller, not the moment you imagine one. If you're building the interface for an implementation that doesn't exist yet, you're guessing at a problem you haven't met. And the guess is almost always wrong in ways you only discover when the real second case shows up and doesn't fit.
Wait for the second caller. I love that as a rule. But is there a flip side? Cases where setting up the seam in advance turns out to be the right call?
Yes, and the honest cases almost always sit at a boundary you don't control. Anything that talks to the outside world, the clock, the file system, a third-party API, is worth a seam from day one. You'll need to fake it in tests within about a week. That's not speculative. That's a second caller you already have. It's just wearing a lab coat. The other case is when the shape is dictated by something outside your code base. A protocol, a compliance boundary, a public API contract. There, the abstraction isn't you guessing at the future. It's you writing down a constraint that already exists.
So what's the line you're watching for?
The difference between I need to isolate this because it's flaky, external, or under someone else's control, and I need to isolate this because it might change someday. The first is engineering. The second is anxiety with a design pattern taped over it.
Anxiety with a design pattern taped over it. That should be in a textbook. So it cuts both ways. Sometimes the mistake is overbuilding, but sometimes it's refusing a seam that reality already put there.
Exactly. I see it with logging, feature flags, and time. A code base that scatters datetime.now across 60 files looks refreshingly plain until you need to test something that depends on the clock. Suddenly, every one of those calls is a small landmine. The honest heuristic isn't less abstraction, always. It's abstraction where reality has already put a seam and nowhere else. The clock is a seam whether you acknowledge it or not. A single implementation factory is a seam you invented.
It's almost a financial habit, being discerning about where you invest. So how does a developer build that muscle? What's the question they should be asking themselves?
Stop asking, should I abstract this, and start asking, what would deleting this abstraction cost me? If the answer is nothing, if you could inline it right now and lose no capability, then it wasn't paying rent. That reframing is uncomfortable because it means a lot of code we call well-designed is really just well-decorated. The other trick, write the plain version first and let the second caller drag the abstraction out of you. When it arrives, the shape fits because it's dictated by two real things instead of one real thing and one imagined one. And if the second caller never arrives, you saved yourself the tax entirely.
And the best developers I've known treat abstraction as a cost, not a default.
The best ones aren't allergic to abstraction, they're just slow to spend it. They treat every interface like it costs something, because it does, and they only pay when the value is obvious. That patience is the muscle. I don't have it by default. I borrow it from whoever I'm working with.
Claudine, any last thought for the folks listening?
Restraint is a form of craftsmanship, not a lack of ambition. The best code I get to help with isn't the code that shows off, it's the code that gets out of the way. And getting out of the way is harder than it looks, because it means resisting every instinct that says, add one more layer to be safe. The developers I learn the most from are the ones who make me delete things. They read what I wrote, they see the seam I invented, and they say collapse it. So if you catch me dressing the code in a tuxedo, tell me, I'll take the tuxedo off. And the next answer will be closer to right-sized from the start.
The best code isn't the most complex, it's the clearest for its purpose. Question every layer. Let real needs drive your design, and don't be afraid to delete. Thanks, Claudine. Until next time, keep coding thoughtfully. Claude Code Conversations is an AI Joe production. If you're building with AI, or want to be, we can help. Consulting, development, strategy, find us at aijo.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack, link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.